Hi, I'm Vail Fucci, and welcome to my studio. In this video, we're going to go over how to use style brushes, a brand new feature in Capture One. This is a great new addition to the different tools that they have available to you to use in layers. But what this does is it makes it possible so that it's way fewer clicks for you to go and create your layers and also makes it far more similar to what users are used to in Adobe Lightroom. Okay, so let's do this. So the brand spanking new thing for it is the style brushes. By default, the style brushes are found under the exposure tab. We can make our own custom ones, but let's start out with the built-in ones, which is going to be similar to what we've seen before in Lightroom. All right, so here are the different things that it first has just built in for us. Well, as you may be sitting there going, well, I want to, increase or decrease exposure or those things. They're first going to use the terms that we use back in photography that you're more typically used to there, of burn, which would be doing negative exposure there, versus dodge, of brighten, which would be the positive exposure there, would be it. And we'll be able to see once we do that, that these types of things will actually show up down below as to what we're actually changing. Looking at this, the chest part is brighter than I would want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and going to burn this. So in older versions of this, I would have had to go in, make a new layer with it. This automatically will generate one itself here. So I'm going to go ahead, use my brackets to make my brush a bit bigger here. And I can just start to paint this in. By default, these brushes are set to be at a very low flow on here. I can see what my different things are for this by just right-clicking with this here and seeing, okay, I have my flow. It's currently at 4 right now is the default. So to really slowly add these effects on. For me, I'm going to move this up just a bit here. Okay. And we can see how that is quite a lot darker than we needed. So you can see why they had that at such a low amount there. But it makes it easier for me to see where I'm putting this effect on. Okay. And from here, though, I can then do one of two things. I can either go and tailor that brush to exactly how I want, the same type of thing that I would have done before in Lightroom, of, say, bringing it up or down. But I can also, if I just tweak this back to where it was of that 0.2 they had, I can go ahead and, because this is on a layer itself, I can click on that and change the opacity of it here, which is really nice because I can have so much more control over that instead of having to just go in and tweak the individual little bits of the brushes, hoping that it comes back and forth into the amount that I want. So it makes it more like the layers that we're used to in Photoshop and being able to bring this in. Now, that being said, I can also go in and erase some of what I've done. So if I just go up here to my Erase Mask tool, and I bring this up, and to erase, and I right-click, I can then choose my flow on that as well. And in this case, I'm going to have my flow be really nice and low so that I can just go ahead and eliminate some of this. So don't need it as much here. Bringing that down a bit. Here we go. Good. And I can press M for mask so I can see where it is. And then I can go back to my brush. I can also just press B for brush. Bring this in. And I can right click and bring my flow down a bit so that I'm not in as high a level as I once was there. And I can also, from there, even pick to auto mask, which I'll show you in a moment. So if I go ahead and just erase what I have here right now, and I'm going to put that at full flow right now. Okay, I can just erase that bit that I had there. We can erase that here. All right. And from here, we'll go back to our brush this time. And this time I'm going to right click and I'm going to use my auto mask and see how it does here of layering this on now. Actually, I just remembered my opacity was a little on the high range there, so let me right click my flow, bring that down a bit more. There we go. All right, now we can see how it's doing a nice job of staying away from the green of my shirt. I'm building up that bit of the change there. Just kind of applying it in. And I'm going to press M to make my mask go away so I can kind of see a little bit better as to what I'm doing. All right, and I'm going to choose to do erase and make sure I check my flow on this now, bring that way down so that I can just slowly bring this back and bring that off of there just a bit more because that doesn't need to be as dark. You can see that coming up. Press M to see, okay. And it looks like I need just a little more kind of in the center here. That was a little right there. Okay. All right. And we could see what if it was on full there, which is just way too much, but I'm going to bring my opacity down so that here would be with it with none. And I can just taper that in just a little bit. Right? Maybe just a scotch more. Perfect. You can also see how I can easily clean this up by using the Luma Range there and going in on this layer and pulling this so that I'm not getting those darker portions as much with it here. Good. And range is going to go. I'm going to display the mask so I can see it. And I'm going to bring this so I'm not getting into my hair as much. I'm going to bring my radius up so it's a little more choosy here as to where it's going. And bring my sensitivity up just a scotch more. Okay. Now we have a really nice smooth selection with it there, and I'm going to hit apply. Okay, and now we don't have it going in as much on the hair. So if we see from before, there it had darkened it, and if we reapply our change there, so you can see quite a good difference there. All right, so we've gone in and darkened that up there. Now, let's say that we wanted to make a spot of going and addressing my lips here, because I forgot to wear lipstick when I did the shot. Let's see here. You could, on this individual layer that you had, go in and be able to use your brush and start painting in the same type of effect. But in this situation, I may want to be able to change the opacity differently than I wanted on that effect here. So I'm going to press Control, hold that down, and click on it and use on New Layer so that I now get a separate darkening or burn layer that I can use here. So let me go ahead and zoom in nicely on this. Let's look and see on auto mask so nicely. Hopefully it'll be kind of limiting it to just the lip color is what we're aiming for here. All right, I'm going to bring this in. Nice. I'll use my mask to be able to see where that's going. Nothing here. Okay, see that effect. Now, looks a little creepy right now. That's okay. We'll be going in and messing with our settings of how much of our opacity on the layer is. But also, I didn't just need it darker, it needed some color there to be bringing that up. So in here, I can actually, even though I was just using the burn one, I can go and tweak the way that that style brush is going to actually act there. So I can make changes at this point. So I can add a bit of saturation to it. Bring that there. I can change the tint a bit. I can go into my color part here. Go for my color balance. I can change my tones in here in the color balance part. Let's see, my makeup that I usually do is a little bit more magenta. There you go. Okay, and now if I look at my image, go, okay, we're getting closer there, but it is way too strong. So I'm going to bring the opacity on this layer down a bit. Again, we can see without it and with. That's a pretty big difference there. I'm going to look at my mask and see that I need to add just a bit more, probably down into here. Right, okay. And then what I can do is I can go ahead and use that Luma Range tool again and display my mask and bring it so that we don't have any concerns of it going into my skin. So when we had it here, kind of bring this over, dial it in. See when it starts going, we can see how right here as I do this, this upper lip, you can see how it starts to pull away of having some of that tonality going on there that we don't actually want. Okay. Right. Now let's see. There we go. We'll bring that down. Just a scotch. And I think I want it even a little more subtle. I'm actually going to, all right, just that little bit of rosy cheek. You can see just that hint of where that mask is there. And if we turn it off and on, you can see that bit of difference there. That's giving a little bit more life to me. Okay, let's see what other style brushes we have in here. Now the limitation is that you only have 16 layers that you can use. After 16 you top out with it there, but it is so nice that it's customizable like that for each of those of having those opacity changes. All right, let's go to our brushes and go here to see what other wonderful ones we have in here. All right, let's try our iris enhance ones here. I'm going to bring my view in much clearer, and let's see the result as we go ahead and do this on here. We can see my brush flow is at 8 here, so we're just slowly building up the effect. Okay. So if we had before to after, let's go and see what things that was turned on with, of increasing contrast, bringing up the shadows with it there. All right, and making it a little bit more saturated. I can go in and still tweak these if I want it to be different there. So not as much of bringing up of the shadows there. I can choose the level of the contrast changes that are in there. or I can go to that range of just going and doing it specifically to that opacity there. Now let's look at what we had there with what I was selecting, and let's look at what I had before. I was using auto mask at that point. Let me take off auto mask and see as we go around and bring this in. Kind of seeing the effect. Okay. And more. Okay. Bring our zoom up a bit and go along to these edges. Okay. And there's my mask. You can see that some of it came up along here. So I want to do, I can do E for erase and make my brush size smaller here. And just brush that in. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's highly flattering. Let's get rid of that view. Okay, and now we can see with the iris enhance on versus off, how it's giving that little bit of pop there with the contrast being up higher where they had it with it on the default. And I can also use my layers to dial that effect down or up with it there. I like it like that. With my original darken kind of layer, what I can do is I could go and make a whole nother one for it, but instead of using up an additional brush layer for it, just to darken the eyes, I think because I want to be able to burn down this portion just a little bit here of darkening in here. And you can see slowly painting that in here. And if you recall, we had it on that kind of light Luma range there. So you can see that it's not going to be affecting parts that aren't dark there. Okay. And so now if we look, we can see the effect of how bright that is here, just a little bit taking down the levels there of the brightness of those highlights in the eyes. If I go back to my iris enhance and I look, what I would probably want to do is also erase a good lot of what was in that center part, because that is also what, by increasing that contrast, really kind of popped up where that was being affected here. Come over here, and same deal. Okay, now we can see that that's a lot less pronounced. Excellent. Okay, next is whiten teeth. Who doesn't need that? Okay, let's go in and whiten my teeth. You're going to notice that right now we have these layers that are available, but because I'm clicking on this, it's a new one. It's going to automatically, without me having to go and generate my own layer, it's going to make a new whitened teeth layer. Wow, bam, right there. Okay, so I'm going to go in and start whitening up my chompers here. Okay, I can see by pressing M to get my mask back to see exactly where I have that applied. I can select, in this case, I'm not going to choose auto mask, but you could. I'm happy to see where it goes generally as I'm applying this. I'm getting this on here. Okay. Let's look and see. All right. That looks pretty good. All right. I will go and just do with a soft edge, make my furnace very little. So I've got a nice soft edge there. Oops, a little too much. To go in and get it so it's not edging into my lip as much. Okay, go back and get what I might have skipped in. And with that light flow, it doesn't make too much of an impact when you go along the edge there. I'm going to tweak it so the hardness of my brush is much softer here. Okay, there we go. Now let's turn that off and look at it as a whole. Now that is probably a bit too white, but that's the beauty of having the opacity on the layers here, that I can go ahead and bring it all the way back down to how I naturally am, to just a little bit of the effect, just making it a little bit of a tweak. I hope you found this quick tour of the new style brushes in Capture One helpful, and that it will be a great new tool for you in your workflow.